just give me a... So we'll just get us some slides up. Okay, so hopefully you can see all that. If not, please let us know through the chat function and we'll sort of get that sorted for you. So I'm Chief Operating Officer at Scottish Edge. I'll be taking you through the part of the workshop this morning. I'm joined on the session by my colleague Kevin Walsh, who's one of our Scottish Edge relationship managers. And Kevin will talk you through the sort of video part of doing your application for Scottish Edge. And we've also got Jack Proctor, our marketing communication manager. He's on the session with us as well. And Jack will manage the chat function and sort of help out with a couple of parts of it. So if we're going through the session today, if you've got any questions, please use the chat function. And we've got our sort of team there to manage that for you and we'll get an answer for you. If not, we'll come back at the end of the session when we sort of do a wee round up and answer any questions. We'll hopefully cover them off there. The whole purpose of today's session is to hopefully get you better prepared and get you organised for doing your application for Scottish Edge Round 18 and give you the sort of hopefully some hints and tips and some tools to help you give yourself the best chances of success in the competition. And we'll work our way through and we'll cover off a number of different elements relating to the competition. So here's what we'll cover off today. We'll give you a bit of background about what Scottish Edge is. We'll touch on what the different categories are within the competition. We'll cover off the key dates that are imperative for this round. Then we'll talk you through the actual application process and how you navigate the online portal and the questions. We'll then hand over to Kevin, who'll talk you through the sort of 3-minute video part of it and how you structure that and do some ideas around how you can put that together and what our sort of judges are looking for. We'll then talk you through the assessment processes, which is when you've done your application, you've done your video, you've submitted it into us, basically what happens next to it and how it's looked at and how it's monitored and how it's assessed. Finish off with a couple of top tips, and then, as I say, we can have some questions at the end through the chat function. We can cover off some questions that have come in just for everyone, but probably the best way to do it is if any questions come to mind as we go through, please just share them through the chat option and we'll answer them as we go along. So kicking off, just to give you an idea of what is Scottish Edge. So got it on screen there. It's a competition aimed at identifying and supporting Scotland's up and coming, innovative, high growth potential entrepreneurial talent. So that's what we are. There's some crucial words in there that we just want to sort of highlight, and these are really important as we go through today's session. First word in there is competition. When you're going through Scottish Edge, please remember what you're entering as a competition. You'll be assessed and measured against all the other applicants that come in. At this stage, we've got no idea, but we've got a slide later on that just gives you some stats around some of the numbers and the chances of going through. But when you're doing your application form, when you're doing your video presentation, remember that you'll be coming in and you'll be assessed by an independent panel of assessors, and they will be assessing you in comparison in the competition format to other businesses entering the competition. So application form in the video, make sure when you're doing that, you're putting something into the competition and submitting something that you think justifies your business proposal. Don't leave any information out that you think, or leave that to later on in the competition, because there might not be a later in the competition because you might not get through. So this is your chance at this first stage to make sure you give as best account as you can of your business and hope that you do enough to stand out in the sort of tough competitive aspect of what Scottish Edge is. Another part within that sort of phrase of covering what Scottish Edge is all about is high growth potential. So what we're looking to find is, and the purpose behind the Edge competition is to be a vehicle and a support mechanism and offer some funding and wraparound support to early stage businesses in Scotland, but who have got plans in place and have got sort of some robustness around their strategies to show that they can become a high growth potential business in the future. So we're looking to find the businesses at the very, very start of their journey, and the businesses that can demonstrate a path of how they're going to grow and develop and make a real difference, whether that's to Scotland's economy through job creation or through just society through the sort of social good that you can do for your business. So it's about demonstrating all the sort of robust plans that you've got to make sure that you are a business that's destined to grow and continue to grow. Scottish Edge exists because we've got some really key partners who help offer the funding that we give out, and it's quite significant funding that we give out. So our key partners and funders are shown on screen here. So we've got Royal Bank of Scotland, we've got the Hunter Foundation, we've got Scottish Government through the sort of Can Do initiative, and we've got Scottish Enterprise. So all those 4 key organisations have at some point put funding in to allow us to grow the business to become a stage where we're now seen as the biggest business competition anywhere in the UK. They help sort of operational costs, and they help sort of the prize pot that we give out each sort of 6 months or so. In addition to those key funders and organisations and key partners, we've got other key business support agencies that are heavily involved in supporting Scottish Edge. We've got Highlands and Islands Enterprise, Business Gateway, Social Investment Scotland, Entrepreneurial Scotland, and many more like that. So we feel as though now at Scottish Edge, we've got sort of an initiative that majority of Scotland's business support network want to buy into and support and have been involved in some way or other. So if we just want to make sure that, you know, that every business organisation out there, most of them know about Scottish Edge. So what that means is there's lots of support out there. So you can tap into these organisations and the people out there within them and get some support and advice to help you when you're doing your application form. So the reason why majority of you are on the sort of workshop this morning is because you've got some plans to apply for Scottish Edge round 18. What that means is, because we're in round 18, we've had 17 rounds before this. And what the screen shows you, we've got some summary of what we've done in the 17 rounds, which have spanned the last 8 years or so now, which Scottish Edge has been in existence. So in that time, we have now helped support 440 odd businesses in Scotland. And we've given out almost £18 million, which has been shared amongst those businesses. In that time, we've seen over 4,000 applications come into the competition. And what we are measured on, and ultimately what we want to see coming from the businesses in the future, is what's the impact in terms of job creation, what's the impact in terms of business growth, what's the impact in terms of the investment being generated. These are the things that we report back to Scottish Government. And there's now been more focus on what impact we are seeing in a sort of social good or an environmental good as well. So we're sort of starting to capture some impact measurements as well and things around that. So when you're doing your application, think about, right, what difference am I going to make in the next sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 years in terms of my business, in terms of job creation or social good or whatever it comes through from it, what your main purpose is. So it's about making sure those things come to the fore when you actually do your application. So who can apply for Scottish Edge? So if we think back to our sort of mission statement or what Scottish Edge is, it's about early stage, up and coming entrepreneurial talent. So for that reason, the businesses must be less than 5 years old. So anyone from pre-trading stage up to having less than 5 years trading is eligible. We've got various different categories within the competition, which we'll cover in a bit more detail soon. But to be eligible for the main Scottish Edge category, which covers a couple of our special category awards as well, you must be a registered business entity. So whether that be a limited company, a charity, social enterprise, community interest company. So you must have a sort of registration lodged at Companies House or Oscar, so you must have a registration number that you can provide to us. For our sort of young age and wildcard categories, you can be still a registered company, charity, etc., but you can also have the opportunity to apply as a sole trader or partnership. So you can be a registered company, but you don't have to be registered to apply as well to be eligible for those categories as well. Because it's Scottish Edge, you must be headquartered in Scotland. So the whole purpose of the business needs to be sort of based in Scotland, and your growth plans need to be aligned to mainly Scotland. The main ownership of the business must be attributed to sort of the key people looking to apply and be involved in the business sort of day to day. So over 50% of that must be attributed to the sort of day-to-day running of the business. So it's not all about having investors based overseas and things like that. So it could be just mainly people based in Scotland. You must have ambitions to grow your business. So anything, we're looking for businesses to have a minimum of £200,000 turnover over the next 3 years. That's the sort of minimum standard. There's a recognition that some of our life science businesses, technology businesses, energy businesses can take longer than 3 years to get to that stage due to the sort of more extensive development work. So there is an extension in terms of that time frame, but there is still the expectation that we would expect you to reach a minimum level of that 200,000, and you would give us a time frame of when you would expect to do that as well. So, and if you're eligible for different categories, so if you meet Scottish Edge because you're registered, you're sort of based in Scotland, you're also young because you're sort of between age 18 and 30, you can be eligible for young age. You're still pre-trading, so you're eligible for wildcard age. So if you're eligible for more than one category, you'll be considered for all of the categories you're eligible for. And it just means you just do the one application form. So you don't have to do separate applications, it's just one, and you would tick the separate boxes, which we'll let you see how that works on the actual portal. So this is when Scottish Edge now becomes quite confusing. And apologies for this, because we've got quite a lot of different categories now that we've added through the interest of different partners and different organisations and areas that we've seen within the competition that we want to offer more support to. So Scottish Edge started off, as I say, 8 years ago, and it was just one competition with one category and one sort of type of prize. It's evolved quite significantly since then, and we've got quite a different elements to it. So we'll run through these. If there's anything, you can check on the chat function, if there's anything you want clarified. And if there's anything beyond that, we can sort of catch up with you at the end, or beyond the workshop, you can get in touch with us and we'll hopefully offer some clarity. The easiest way I try and sort of say to people is, when you're looking at Scottish Edge, you've got 3 different categories. You've got Scottish Edge, and you've got Young Edge, and you've got Wildcard Edge. So if we talk about Scottish Edge first, which we see as our sort of main category, and the reason we say that's our main category is that's where the larger sort of prizes come from within that category. So Scottish Edge is, you must be a registered company, as we touched on in the last slide. That's one, or a social enterprise, community interest company, charity. So you must have a sort of registered entity within that. Scottish Edge offers prizes up to £100,000. All the prizes within that, so that includes our special category awards, are split grant and loan. And for round 18, all our prizes will be split 70% loan, 30% grant. And to enter into Scottish Edge, you must do your application form and your video. So that's how you actually submit an application. So it's what we're going to talk you through just now, is the application form and the 3-minute video. So that's the 2 mandatory elements of it. So within Scottish Edge, you are competing for amounts up to £100,000. So when you apply, you can apply for anything up to £100,000. You don't have to apply for that amount. You would apply for what you think your business needs at this current stage. Within Scottish Edge, we've got some what we call special category awards. So these are basically accolade titles that you would win as the top certain type of business or sector type business within the competition. So for example, we've got a circular economy edge category within Scottish Edge. So it's a Scottish Edge award. It carries the title of Circular Economy Edge Award winner. And what that means is when we go through Scottish Edge, you would go through, you do your application form, we get to the assessments, go to semi-final and final. If you at the final then are decided by the panel as the top circular Edge business, you would win the title of Circular Economy Edge winner. So what it doesn't really impact too much on your application stage, it doesn't impact too much at the same effect. When we get to the final, these category titles become more prevalent. So when you're applying for Scottish Edge, you don't particularly need to say in your application, we're only focusing on Circular Economy Edge or Industrial Biotechnology Edge, but you don't have to say that. All you need to do is make sure you tick the box, you're eligible for it to be considered, and we'll manage that through the process. And it's when we get to the final, these become more relevant. So within the special category awards, we'll run through basically what we've got. We've got STV Growth Edge. So for any business that comes into the competition under the Scottish Edge category, if you've got a consumer-based product, then you'd be eligible for STV Growth Edge. And what that prize gives you is, in addition to a Scottish Edge award, which would be funding up to £100,000 and wraparound support, you also get an additional £75,000 of airtime with STV to show an advert on TV. So it gives you, it's a great opportunity for early stage businesses to sort of widen your reach and awareness through a TV advert, which is not always a priority due to the airtime costs, but they'll be covered for you up to £75,000. So that's an additional prize that businesses can consider themselves for. We've got Industrial Biotechnology Edge, which is another category where we partner up with iBioIC, and we offer a prize for the top Industrial Biotechnology Edge award winner in the competition. So again, any business in that sort of space, you would sort of tick the box to say to be considered for that, and we'll manage that through the process. And if at the final you're the top Industrial Biotechnology theme business, you would win that accolade title. And again, that brings a top prize of up to £100,000 as a Scottish Edge award, and then some additional support through iBioIC. It's the same with Circular Economy Edge Award. Again, you would go through, and that's a Zero Waste Scotland sponsored award. You would go through at the final, you would win up to £100,000 or what is decided by the panel. And again, you get some additional add-on support from Zero Waste Scotland. And again, we've got Creative Edge, which is designed to support a creative business as a top creative business in the competition as well. So that's the special category awards. We've also got within the competition a specific social enterprise edge category, which is based under Scottish Edge because the sort of makeup of the funding is the same as the overall Scottish Edge. The application process is the same at the start. But when we get to the sort of decision-making part after the first stage assessments, then all of our social enterprises are invited separately to a social enterprise edge final. So the ones that are sort of deemed as the top performers in the first stage would be invited to a social enterprise edge final, which is a separate event where social enterprises compete against each other rather than compete against our sort of more mainstream businesses, and they will be measured on their sort of proposed social impact and the sort of growth plans for that business offering and the sustainability of that business as well going forward. So when all your applications come in, as I said, we don't know how many we will get, but when they all come in, we then put them through what we call the first stage assessment. And that's when your application form and your video is sent to a panel of assessors. And they'll review your application and review it and assess it against their Scottish Edge assessment criteria. And then they'll use those assessments to decide which of those businesses are the top performers in the first stage based on the application form and video only. And they'll be then invited to the next stage of the competition, which is then for the Scottish Edge category is a semi-final stage. For the social enterprises, you would get invited straight to the social enterprise edge final. And then from the semi-final, you would pitch in front of a panel, again, a different panel, and then you would go to the final. And again, we'll have another workshop further down the competition for the ones who get to the semi-final stage into the social enterprise edge final to touch on how you would sort of put together your pitch and deal with the Q&A part of it. So we'll cover them later. So that's Scottish Edge. Then you've also got young age and wildcard age, and these are separate categories. They're sort of dealt with slightly differently. The application process is the exact same. You do an application form in the same way you would do for Scottish Edge. You do a 3-minute video. On the application portal, you tick you're eligible for young age, and then you would get assessed in the same way. But what we then measure is all of our sort of eligible businesses for young age will be measured and decided on, right, which of the top ones that will go through to the young age final. So we'll take a number of businesses through to young age, and in that category, you can win an award up to £15,000. We have some top prizes of £15,000, and we have some sort of other winners' prizes of £10,000. So you come in, you do your assessment, you get invited to the young age final, and then you would be picked if you're one of our young age winners. The same works for wildcard. So wildcard is for purely pre-trading businesses. So any business that comes in as a pre-trading business, you would be eligible for the wildcard category. And wildcard, it was designed because in the competition that we were going through the earlier rounds before wildcard was added into it, we've seen lots of businesses who had really high innovation, really exciting business proposals. It had a bit of a wow factor, which is what wildcard is about. And then, but they were so early stage in the journey, it was difficult for them to demonstrate the business strategy and the customer focus and validation for their sort of demand. Because of that, we decided we want to try and offer some early stage support to these businesses, and we put together a wildcard category, and that's purely designed to help pre-trading early stage businesses, but it's about finding the wow factor within them. And that wow factor could be about the business proposal. So it could be highly innovative, sort of scientific, groundbreaking, anything like that. It could be a bit of a wow factor about it. It could be just about the people in the team. It could be about the difference that you're going to make to people. So there's something there that you want to excite the assessment panel and go, do you know what, that's really exciting what they're doing, and that's what you want. That's what wildcard is about. And again, it's just getting your application forms in the same way you would for Scottish Edge or Young Edge, do your video, and then you're assessed as a wildcard entrant. So all the prizes in Young Age and Wildcard are grant only, and it's £10,000 core prizes, and there's a top prize in each of them of £15,000. In this round, we have been given some extra funding from Scottish Enterprise to double our amount of winners in Young Age. So for any of our Young Age eligible applicants, you've now got even more chances of success in round 18. So we're doubling normally we'd have 7 winners in Young Age, we're now doubling up to 14, and we'll have 2 top prize winners within Young Age as well. So anyone who's aged 18 to 30, please make sure you tick the Young Age box when you're doing your application to give yourself a chance with Young Age. Young Age and Wildcard Age are seen as our pipeline for future Scottish Edge winners. So again, the purpose of those categories are that you would hopefully apply, be successful, use the Young Age or Wildcard grant funding to good effect and use it to grow your business, and then you would be well placed to come back in whether it's 6 months' time or a year's time to then apply for a larger amount in Scottish Edge. So those are not the end of your competition. If you win them, that's just the start of it. We would hope you would come back and hopefully win other categories. The other thing that often happens as well, just when we're talking about the categories, we'll have some businesses who will come in and apply for £100,000 in Scottish Edge, but they are maybe also pre-trading and they are eligible also for wildcard. They might get assessed through the sort of first stage assessment by our panel, and the panel might look at it and go, do you know what, this is a great business, it's really exciting, but they're lacking on a couple of things just to demonstrate that we can see the business growth potential. But we're really excited about the product proposition. So do you know what? The wildcard category is a better fit for them. So whilst they've applied for £100,000 and they're looking to win that amount, the assessment panel might say, yeah, they're eligible for Wildcard Edge, we're going to give them an opportunity in that category, and they're one of the top wildcard applicants that we've seen. So they would then be offered a place in the wildcard edge final, even though they'd applied for £100,000. And that means we would go back out to that business at that point and say, right, you've applied for £100,000 on your application. You now can only win £10,000 or £15,000. Give us a breakdown of what you would spend that part on or that amount on. So those things happen in the competition as well. So that's the different categories. That gives you a run through of it. But as I say, once we get past our first stage assessments and we decide on who's going through to semi-finals and various category finals, we'll have another workshop to give a bit more detail about how those parts work. And then move on. Okay. Right. Okay. So we'll now give you some stats around how many businesses actually have got a chance of going through. So at this stage, whilst the application window is open, we've got no idea how many applications we will actually receive for this round of the competition. But we will base it on 250 for this, these purposes. In the last round, when we done round 17, we had 305 applications. Previous to that, we've had rounds when it's been 220, we've had rounds around about 200. So we're just trying to use an average number just now. So if we get 250 applications, we think around 200 of them will be eligible for Scottish Edge. And what we mean by that, we might get some applications that will come in and say, right, we only want to focus on Young Edge and Wildcard Edge, and we're only going to apply for £10,000 or £15,000. So that's all we're applying. So we know, the assessors will know that we're only going for a smaller amount, so we only want to focus on Young Edge or Wildcard, wherever the eligibility lies. So we might get around 50 of that. So if we take 200 are eligible for Scottish Edge, and go back to one of the first things we spoke about is a competition aspect to this. All 200 businesses will be aiming to try and win places at the next stage. So we'll probably take 40 businesses into the semi-final stage of Scottish Edge. So that's about, what's that, 20% of the applicants would get a chance of going through, and that means there's going to be a high number will miss out. So we'll take 40 through, and from those 40 we'll have around 19, 20 winners. So when you come in, if you're applying for £100,000 or an amount up to £100,000 going for Scottish Edge, at the end of it we'll probably have 19, maybe 20 winners, which is about 10% chance of success. So that means about 90% of the Scottish Edge eligible applicants will put in a good application, will offer something that's quite engaging for our assessors, but due to the competitive aspect of it, might not go on and win. So it's about just being able to put as best a case that you can for our assessors and give yourself the best chance. For Young Edge, we think there'll be around 80 businesses will be eligible based on averages. So some of them will just be applying for £10,000 or £15,000, but some of them will also be applying for higher amounts, also eligible for Scottish Edge, but will be in the age bracket for Young Edge and could potentially go into that category. So Young Edge, 80 businesses, we'll take probably about 20 into the final, and then we'll have 14 winners, which works out at around 18% chance of success. So if you're eligible for Young Edge coming in, you know that you'll have about an 18% chance of success at Scottish Edge. Then you've got Wildcard, which is always seen as our toughest category. It's the one that it's the early stage applicants, but it's the one that's got the toughest chance of success. We reckon that around about 140 of our applicants will be pre-trading when they apply for Scottish Edge in this round. And that means that we'll take probably 10 or 11 into the final, and we'll have 7 winners, which is about a 5% chance of success. So it's a really tough category, but it's about making sure you get across that wow factor. That's the thing that stands out. It's about getting those assessors excited for what you're looking to bring to market. Social enterprise edge, out of our 250 applicants overall, we think about 20 of them will be social enterprises. And we base it on having one social enterprise edge winner. In a couple of the rounds we've had 2, because the judges at the final were so impressed by more than one of them. The funding was split over 2 winners. But we'll take about 5 social enterprises into the social enterprise edge final. And then we'll have 1 winner if we base it on that, or potentially 2 winners. So again, it's a 5 or 10% chance of success when you come in to that category. So of the 250 applicants that will potentially receive it, as I say, it could be 200, it could be 300. We think there'll be 75 places to go to the next stage. So when we do the first stage assessments, when we look at your application forms and videos, overall across all the categories, we'll be looking to take 75 of those applicants through to the next stage. So that's how many will progress. So there's another 175, if we go on those averages, that won't progress beyond the first stage. So, and then we'll have 41 winners, which again is about a 16% chance overall of, when you come in, of being successful. So it's a tough process. As I say, Scottish Edge, it's now seen as the biggest business competition in the UK. And it's tough to go through. But when you go through it and you win, the success from that can be really beneficial. We've seen some real benefits of being an Edge winner for some businesses. So one of the things that we've done over the last couple of rounds, we've been sort of trying to get some sense from our judges throughout the different stages of the competition as to what do they look for in a business to allow them to progress. Obviously, we've got an assessment criteria, and the judging is all based on that. But breaking it down to some sort of simplistic sort of terms, what things that normally stand out for the judges and get their attention is a high level of innovation. And that's not about groundbreaking science. It's just about something that's different, something that stands out as a bit unique. And we'll touch on this as one of our assessment areas. Something that just stands out to them and go, do you know what, that's quite unique. That's quite interesting. Really like that. But that's not enough. It has to have some substance behind it. It has to have some customer validation. It has to have just something there to show that it's not just an idea, it's beyond an idea. It's something that, it might not be trading yet, it's still pre-trading, but we've done some groundwork here to show that there's some market interest in our sort of exciting product offering. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is just a really good, solid business offering. It doesn't need to be something really innovative. It needs to have a point of difference. But the thing that makes it stand out in the competition is, do you know what? It's just a really good business, and it's a proven business offering because they've got some trading figures behind them. They're showing the market demand. They're showing some growth, whether that's year on year or month on month. They've been able to demonstrate that there's an offering there that businesses like, and they've got the team in place, they've got the commercial plans in place, and they can show that the Edge funding will really ramp up their growth plans that they've got for their business. So it's when you're doing your application, it's thinking about what makes our business stand out. Have we got something really exciting that we can really bring to the fore or emphasise on our application that will make the assessors grab their attention? Or if we just got a really good business that we can demonstrate clearly, we've got something here that people like, and here's how it's going to grow. So that's some things to think about. got some key dates. The most important date for this workshop is the 10th of August, and that's when the application window closes. It closes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and beyond that, we can't accept any applications. We can't accept any changes. We can't accept any new applications getting started. So you must have everything that's required for your application done and completed by that date. And the reason for that is we've got application assessment starts 2 weeks after that, and we've got lots to pull together, lots of checking to do, and get all of our applications over to our judging panels to give them enough time to check over things before they come together for the judging days. So we're quite strict on that data, or not quite strict, very strict on that sort of timings. We need to make sure you've got your application fully completed online, you've got your video link inserted on your online portal, and you've ticked the boxes to submit your application. So that's the most important date. The other dates are on the screen there for you to see, just around when the next stages of the competition take place. These dates are basically set in stone, so we've not got much movability around it. If anything does change around them, we'll communicate that quickly and clearly as we can to everyone. But so if you're looking at Wildcard Edge, as for example, or Social Enterprise Edge, please take a note of those dates so that you've got them sort of penciled in your diary, just in case you're successful in going through. Okay, so that's some background information about Scottish Edge and some of the key things that have come up in previous rounds. But now looking at this round, so hopefully a lot of you have had a look at the application portal, or have indeed started your application. If not, then I would encourage you after this workshop to as quickly as possible have a wee look and start the process and get yourself familiar with the online portal. If you've not, or if you have, then I'll just give you a wee reminder of how you go through it. So you would access the application from our Scottish Edge website. And when you go onto Scottish Edge website, you'll see the very front screen, an Apply Here button. And when you click on that, you'll now be taken direct to our application portal. For anyone before, you would have went through the support page initially, but we've now sort of put you direct to the portal. And then you've got your options on there of accessing the portal. So when you get onto this portal page, you've got two options. You've got an option there of being a new applicant to Scottish Edge, or an already registered. So that's the two choices you've got. If you've applied to Scottish Edge in the past using the application portal, then you would click on already registered, and you would enter your email address and password. And if you don't remember the password, there is a forgot your password option on there when you click on the box, and it will take you through a process to create a new password. And then you can go in, and the majority of your business details will be there again. You can update anything you need, and you can access your application. For any new applicants, you would go in and then you would register through your email address, and you would create a password, and you would work your way through just the initial screens, which give us the basic business information. You would tell us your business name, business details, and the key people in the business, etc., etc. And then once we've got all that in the system, you then get to a screen that takes you through into your application portal to create your application, basically. So first bit is capturing all the business details, and then you go into your actual business application. So one of the first screens you'll come to when you get to your business application is this screen. So it gives you a bit about what Scottish Edge prizes are available, and then first thing you will tell us is how much you're applying for in the competition. So again, for Scottish Edge, you can apply up to £100,000. And for Young Edge or Wildcard, if you want to just specifically focus on those categories, you would say 10,000 or 15,000. If you want to apply for a higher amount for Scottish Edge, but you could also be considered for Young Edge and Wildcard, then put the higher amount only. And then if you drop into Young Edge or Wildcard, we'll sort of communicate that with you. So you put your amount, and then it's about just ticking what boxes you're eligible for. So you would tick Young Edge or Wildcard Edge if you're eligible. And then under the Scottish Edge category, you've got the various different special accolade awards that we've got within there. So if you're an asset locked social enterprise, you would tick that box. If you're circular economy edge, you would tick that box. You can tick more than one box. So you can tick as many as you feel as though you're eligible for. And then as the assessors look at your application, if you're going to be progressing the competition, you would be selected for whatever category they think is the best one for you. And again, as I said, the Scottish Edge Special Category Awards don't really come into effect until the actual final day itself. Then there's a note at the bottom. If you're not Young Age or Wildcard Age or Social Enterprise, if you don't tick any of these boxes, that's absolutely fine, because we've still got our main core Scottish Edge awards that make up the majority of the awards in the competition. So, for example, iBio, IC Edge or STV Edge, there's only one award in them. We'll have 19 Scottish Edge winners. So don't panic if you don't tick any of those boxes. Just put the amount you're applying for, and then you would go to the next screen. The next screen then looks like this. This is your main application page. This is the main part of it that you'll complete all your main information from. There's some key information in there that tells you about the awards and the different things. Then in the middle section there, you'll see application questions. And that's where you'll access all the main questions you will answer. So you've got sort of funding, you've got value proposition, you've got entrepreneurial spirit, impact. So what you would do is take your time and click on each box. And within each box, there's a various question. Funding is the one we've just looked at, is give us the amount you're looking to apply for in the different categories. And then you go into value proposition and you go into entrepreneurial spirit. Your application questions, when you answer them, will be saved and automatically saved for you. So you don't have to complete it all in one go. And we wouldn't encourage anyone to complete it in one go, because it is quite a lengthy form when you go into it. So take your time and go through each section and just make sure you give yourself time so you're not in a rush at the end. So you go through each question, and when you click on one of the question boxes, you will get a question that will open up a separate box. So this is value proposition section we're looking at. And within value proposition, I think there's 4 or 5 different questions. This is just an example of the first one. This is what you'll see on your screen. You'll see the question, you'll see the sort of sub-questions in there. And then after that, you'll get a question box. And the question box just gives just copies over the sort of some of the sub-questions. And what we're asking in here is just to basically answer that question. You don't have to answer each sub-question as it is. It's about, these are there to give you an idea of what we're looking for in these answers. So this is about just basically tell us what your business offering is, or your service offering is. So, and there's just some key information in there that might help you put that together. So you've got a box here to put all your answers in, and then at the end of that will automatically save, but there's a sort of button at the bottom of that section to sort of save it as well. You'll also see at the bottom of the screen there, each box or each question you've got will have a word count. And that's the maximum word count we want you to use for each of those questions. That word count there is there, and it's designed so that we're not getting screeds and screeds of information. And it's based on what level of detail our judges want. So we think there's sufficient scope in there to give us a really good, in-depth, robust answer to each of the questions within the word count. You don't have to use the full word count. Don't feel if you can concisely and get the answer that you want within 300 words or 200 words or 400, that's absolutely fine. Don't feel as though you need to keep adding and adding and adding till you get to 500 words. It's not about that. Just give us what you think is a really good and robust answer that covers the key details that we're looking for within that. So as you go through value proposition, I think there's 4 or 5 different questions, and we'll touch on them in a second. They'll have different word counts, but we just want you to give us the key answers within that. And that's what happens for each of the key different boxes that you click on. You'll click on it, you'll get a question box in there, and then you work your way through that and give us the detail that we need. You can go in and update your answers. So it's not as if when you do your answers on value proposition, that's it, it's set in stone. You can go in and change it. If something changes in your business in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you can go in and update it. So that's, the options are there as long as everything's done by the 10th of August. So you've got all your question boxes there, the sort of on sections within that. So there is an attachments section in there at the end as well. And that attachment section has really got two purposes. There's an eligibility thing that if you've been registered as a business for more than 5 years, but you've been trading for less than 5 years, we deem you as eligible because you've got less than 5 years trading business behind you. And what we would need then is just a letter of confirmation from an accountant to say you've been trading for less than 5 years. So that would go in your attachment section. Also, if you've got any product visuals, the video part that Kevin will cover off soon is really good for getting video or visuals across of your product or service. But if you've got any images or anything you want, you use the attachment sections. The attachment section's not for financial information, it's not for business plans, it's not for brochures, it's not, because these won't be taken into account and we won't be looked at in your application. So please don't put anything in there it's not a visual or an eligibility element. Then once you've done all your questions, you'll see just below that there's a bit to put in your video link. So you must enter a video link. And again, Kevin will touch on that and we'll give you some tips around how best to do that. And then you've got some sort of confirmation statements there just to tick. And then at the very bottom, there's a bit as it says submit. So once you do all your questions, add your video in, confirm your application that all the details are accurate, then you submit, and that's you entered into Scottish Edge Round 18. And we will then check your application beyond that. So every question must be answered. Your video link must be in there. If it's not, then we won't be able to take any information beyond the deadline. So that's the application portal. This screen here shows you basically a snapshot what we're asking in the sort of proposition or in the portal application, and we'll just run through quickly from an applicant's perspective. Here's what we're asking you to give us information on, and then we'll look at it in a bit more detail from an assessor's perspective. We'll look at the assessment criteria of how they would view it. So first things we look at is the amount you're applying for. Obviously, you'll give us a brief description, and we've asked you to really be succinct on that for 25 words. So if you're going through your portal, there will be a section at the start of it, gives us a very, very brief description of what your business is. Then it's about what you're applying for. And then you go into the value proposition section. So you'll get your various different question boxes. I think it's 4 or 5 in that section. And basically what we are looking for you to tell us in there is, what is your business product or service offering? So basically, what is it? And it's probably the worst thing you can do in a Scottish Edge application is leave the assessors, after reading your application form and watching your video, still not knowing what it is. So this is a question at the very start of the application to say, tell us clearly and precisely and succinctly what the business is, so that we understand it. And that's an important part, so that a panel who may not be experts in your field, so that they understand what it is. Then we'll ask you a question about what's your competitive landscape. So what sector or market are you all looking to operate in or operating in at the moment? And what's your competition like, and how do you then stand out, which then leads us into the next question. We're looking for you to tell us your point of difference. And it can be something simple, but what is the area within your business that makes you stand out when you operate in a sort of busy market like most businesses do? So we would imagine most businesses will have competition out there. It's about, we want to know your awareness. So the competition question is not about, we want you to trip yourself up by saying there's lots of competition out there. It's not about that. We want you to demonstrate that you've got an understanding of the market you're trying to enter, so that when you demonstrate that to the panel recognise that, yeah, this is someone who's researched their market, know what market they're looking to enter, and they're thinking about how they can stand out and where their placement will be. So that's what that competition is about, and the point of difference. So the point of difference bit's really crucial. It's about just making sure you get something out, what makes you unique in some way. And that can be, as I say, something simple. We've had businesses in the last round who make bars of chocolate. We had ones who make cured meats, and these we've had ones who make gin and rum, and these businesses operate in markets there where there's lots of similar products, but they all demonstrated something that made them stand out as a bit different, which then makes them appealing to their customer base. And that's where you want to get that message across. We also want you to, in value proposition, demonstrate you know what the risks are to your business going forward. So whether that be around IP, or whether that be around competition, or whether that be around funding, or material to make a prototype, or whatever that may be, just demonstrate the key risks. And it's not about listing 20 or 30 risks. It's about what's our top 3 or 4 main risks that we need to be aware of going forward, and what we're doing to try and minimise the impact you can have. And also within value proposition, we want you to tell us what's been your highlights over the past 3 months or so of your business journey. What good things have happened, what interesting things, what exciting things. Just tell us about anything that's really stood out in your business journey, any recognition you've had, any just key sales, anything like that. So anything that you can tell us. Then the next section is about entrepreneurial spirit, and that's just a fancy way about talking about the people. Who are the people in this business? What's their skills and experience? Make sure you tell us about yourself. We want to know about you as a business leader. That's crucial. Why are you the right person to be taking this business forward and make it a success? In that section, we also ask you about your support network. So who else is in your team? So have you got an official team in your business? Have you got people working with you? Have you got a wider team, which involves business support agencies? Have you got mentors? Are you on an accelerator program? Anything like that. We want to know about the people you're engaging with and the value that you're adding to your business journey. Then we ask you about impact. And impact's quite a new section. We just added into the last round. And in this section, it's becoming more sort of crucial. And now that businesses have got more than just a business for sort of profit, it's about what social good or environmental benefits are you adding as a business. So we want to hear about the good things that you're doing beyond economic value. So there's a question around tell us about the social impact that you deliver. And this isn't about what you're just doing just now. If you are doing lots of things, tell us about that. But it's also about the future intentions. What are you intending to do? What have you got built into your business plans that is around social good? And we also ask about how you're going to measure that. So it's not about just telling us, yeah, we're going to do lots of really good things, but it's about how are we going to demonstrate that in the future that we have done these things. And that's the same with environmental impact. We want you to tell us about all the sort of benefits you've got in terms of the environment, what sort of things you've built into your business. Have you got a core focus on a sort of climate proposition? Is it anything that you've got that's it's just about doing good for the planet? And tell us about that, and tell us about how you're going to sort of measure that impact as well. And again, it's not just about what you're doing just now, it's about what is in the plans. And then there's also a separate question about circular economy. Are you doing anything around sort of recycling and reusing and waste reduction and all these types of things? And it's about just getting those messages across as well. And again, that ties in nicely with, we've got a Circular Economy Edge Award. So if there's some really good stories in there, we can clearly see where that circular focus is within the business. And the next bit's about business growth potential. We'll ask you about your next 3 years projections for your business. And we'll ask you about your financial figures that you're going to do in terms of sales and profit. And that can often be a challenge. And you know that for an early stage business, you maybe not always at this stage thought that far ahead. But what we want to do with this application in this competition is to get you thinking around the next sort of longer term, not just about what next month will bring or what you're doing this year. It's about what can we actually achieve with this business, and how do we need to go about that journey to achieve what we think we can. So it's about, we ask you about, give us your next 3 years figures. We want that to be realistic. We want it to be achievable, but we want it also to demonstrate your ambition you've got for your business. So please try and have a think about that and get that across. But what's really important in the business growth potential is, yeah, we look at the figures, but the important bit is there's a box below that. It's really asking you how you're going to achieve these. What things do you need to do in your business, or what things have you already done and can demonstrate that you're on track to achieve these figures? The next sort of 12 month, for the next sort of 1 year forecast that you provide is really crucial, because you should be well placed just now to be able to demonstrate how you're going to achieve this. Are you on track? If you say you're going to be trading in November, December, or January next year, right? What things do you still need to do? What plans have you got in place? How are you going to what's the initial sales going to be? Who's your customers going to be? What's the cost of sales going to be? So it's all about looking at this immediate growth plans that you've got, and how are you going to demonstrate these. And then once you can demonstrate that well, you can just then add on in year 2, we need to continue to grow. And here's what we're thinking about for year 2 is our next customer market. And then beyond that, we'll be going to go overseas or something like that. So it's about how does that year 1, 2, and 3 journey look, with a sort of big focus put on the next 12 months part of it, to see, right, how can we really demonstrate this? If you're not going to be trading within the next year, 2 years, or 3 years, and it's still lots of development work, that's absolutely fine as well. So just show on your next 3 years, we might not be trading, we might not have any sales in the next 3 years. What we want to see in there is, right, a bit of realism around what's the cost going to be, what's the how are you going to cover the costs over the next 3 years that you've needed to sort of continue the development work. What we also want to see in your how part of it is when you expect to start trading, and what sort of levels of trading you expect to achieve when you do get up and running. So there's some things in there that yeah, if you've got a lot of development work, in some of the life sciences ones or technology ones, they do have that type of journey. But we want to see, right, how are you covering the costs that are going to be needed for the development work, and when we start trading, and what's the likely levels going to be on there. Then with the next bit, which often goes hand in hand with the business growth journey, is the customer part. And again, this is really crucial. This is an area where a lot of our applicants fall down on when we're going through the assessment part of. It's about who your customers are, and this isn't about, right, who's the market that you're looking for in terms of Google stats. It's not that. This is about, right, who have you spoken to? Who is the market that you're engaging with just now? Why is there a need for your business? So it's about just telling us, right, we're developing this business because we know there's a market out there, and the reason we know that is because we've spoken to these people, or we have spoken to this corporate organisation, we've spoken to a focus group, and tell us about those things. And we want to know there's a demand. We want to know you've sort of validated that there is a need out there. It's about doing as much customer validation as you can. It's not just about doing a survey for the sake of doing a survey. It's about going and speaking to people and say, right, would you use this? Would you use this over other products that are out there? Are you happy with the proposed price point? And then trying to find out, right, how can we then reach the market? We've spoken to people, they like our product. How do we then build a plan for getting that out to our target market? So whether it's, right, are you going to go down the retail route or things like that? So one of the most common phrases we see in an Edge application is, we're currently in talks with John Lewis or Tesco or Sainsbury's or any a retailer that is probably well known. And that's great to have in your business journey, great to be put on your application. But the first question an assessor will ask is, that's great, but what stage is it at? Have you just sent them an email? Have you just had a response to say, we'll speak to you soon? Or has this relationship been really well developed? Are you doing a product demonstration soon? So it's about asking yourself, what's the next question? If you tell us we're in talks with Tesco, ask yourself, right, what would a panel member want to know? They want to know, right, what stage is it at? Who am I speaking to? When is it going to get rolled out? Is it going to be a trial? How many stores? For how long? What do I need to achieve from that trial? So it's thinking beyond just the telling us information. It's what does that information mean? And often we see in applications some really good information, really good statements, but they're just not backed up with further substance. So think about what's the key information you want to get across that a panel want to pick out, and then build on that key information. Then the final section for you as an applicant to fill in terms of key questions is the utilisation of funding. And that's all about how would you use Scottish Edge funding, and giving us a breakdown of what you would spend the things on and the specific activities that would let you do. So it's about thinking about how much do you need to apply for, and what areas would you spend it on. Scottish Edge funding can be used basically on anything, with a couple of exceptions. We won't and can't fund salaries for the existing business owners or directors. And we can't use the funding to pay any directors' loans or other loan funding. So you can't use the Edge funding for any of that. But anything around bringing in new staff is a common reason, marketing support, product development, prototypes, anything like that that's going to take your business forward. That's seen as a good use of funding. So it's thinking about the questions will be for yourself, like, what do we really need? And that's the most important question. That's it. What do we really need? Don't just ask for £100,000 because you can. Ask for what you need. Because when we get the breakdown of funding at the end of the competition, there will probably be only a small number of businesses that win £100,000. I think the average Scottish Edge award is around about £60,000 to £65,000. And most of those businesses will have applied for 100 at the outset, but would have walked away from the competition with 65 and a £70,000 or £60,000. So have a think about what you need and what you would spend it on, and make sure what you spend it on is right for the stage of the journey that you're at. Another thing on utilisation of funding as well is, if you're going to need more money beyond what Scottish Edge can give you, make sure you've got some detail in there around what the plans would be for it. You don't have to have investment in place or other funding in place. You don't have to have, but you need to be thinking about what you're going to need, when you're going to need it, how you're going to go about it. So just give the panel a bit of confidence that you've got a plan in place. And that's an important word. It's about confidence. You want the panel to read your application and see your video and say, you know what, this is a really good team of people. They've got a really good plan. They've got a great product. They're doing good for the environment. They've outlined their business growth journey really well. They've already got some interest from their customers. And that's the type of reaction you want from an assessment panel. So that's basically on that screen what is asked in the application form in a condensed version. So it's just working through that and making sure you give the depth of detail that's looking that we're looking for the assessment part of it. So that's the application. So the next bit we're going to look at, move this on, is about the video. And for this, I'm going to hand over to Kevin and our team. He will talk you through the 3-minute video part of your application. So Kevin, are you there, and over to you?
Yeah, I'm here, Stephen. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks to all the participants for coming along today. I think I'm sure you'll agree you've been given a lot of information so far on how to put together a strong application in what is a very competitive competition. So my name's Kevin Walls, and I'm one of the relationship managers for Scottish Edge, and my role is to look after competition winners. So what that means is Stephen and the team take all the applicants through the process of the application and competition. And then when the winners are announced, they effectively get handed over to myself and my colleague Ken, and we wrap that support around them to make sure that we can get them access to the best support, the best connections. We help solve any problems, we give business advice, and we're an extra support mechanism there for them to help them move their business forward. So that comes as part of the winners package, where you get access to a relationship manager for advice and guidance. Now, the reason why I'm covering the pitch section is I've been working with startups for 6 years now. I have heard hundreds of pitches, hundreds, literally. I've heard some great ones and I've heard some really bad ones. So what I'm going to take you through here is, from my experience, what works well in a pitch. Why do you pitch? What is the benefit of it? And why is it really, really important to spend quality time getting this right? So, Stephen, if you wouldn't mind moving on. Thank you. Now, few key things to remember about the putting together a video pitch. If you've never done a pitch before, don't panic. Okay, we're going to give you all the information here to help you build the structure of it, think about how to put it together, and then practice it. Okay, the 3-minute video pitch is absolutely crucial to bring your application form to life. When you write an application, when you read it back or you give it to someone to read, they're reading hundreds and hundreds of words. They have to digest all that information. There's a lot in there to take in, and the assessors will have to do that as well. So not only do you want to make your application form clear, concise, not too text heavy, but just enough detail to get the good points across, but making sure it's clear what you're doing. You want to do the same with your video, but you've only got 3 minutes to do that. So don't try and translate your whole application into a 3-minute video. It's not going to work. My advice for a 3-minute video is to use no more than 450 words. Don't use any jargon. If you're a technical business of any kind, do not use any jargon. And keep it nice and clear and concise. And I'm going to talk you through some of these kind of top tips that I've learned and I'll pass on to you to help you put together a video pitch that brings the application to life, but most importantly, lets the assessors see the entrepreneur or the team behind this idea, the passion for the idea, and showing the belief they can deliver on this plan. So if you've never done a pitch before, you want to think about what is it you want to say. And this slide here, building your business story, is a tried and tested method of starting to give some headings to the key sections of your pitch, your business pitch, that you want to get across in 3 minutes. And I'm going to take you through these. Now, when you start to write this, I always recommend that although there's the introduction and the hook at the start, write that last. Okay? So you want to do your headings. Number one, you want to start off with a hook because you want to get the panel excited about what's to come. If you do any research in pitching, especially anything over 3 minutes or 3 minutes and over, the research shows if you don't get the judge's attention in 12 seconds, you're potentially going to lose the judges. You're going to lose the audience. So you want to get something that's impactful. You want to get something it could be a visual, it could be something verbal, it could be a stat, it could be an experience, something that really grabs the audience's attention. But I'd recommend you write that last, and I'll explain why in a second. Next part is a business inspiration. So why did you start this business? What's your potential story? Does it mean something personal to you? Is it a societal issue? What have you identified? What is the problem you've identified? And why is that a problem? How big is that problem? So what's inspired you to actually come up with this idea? Solution, again, you can easily look at that because that's why you're pitching for this money from Edge. You've got an idea, you think you've identified a problem, you think you've got a solution, and you explain what that solution is. And again, really good opportunity for any visuals, any quick diagrams, any small, you could even insert a little video in there of a demonstration of how it works, if it's a product or a service. That's your opportunity to show this solution, clear, concisely, easily digestible. The next section when you're writing your pitch is think about the customer. The customer opportunity and the revenue model. Very, very crucial. Stephen's already talked about this, and I'm going to really reiterate this point. Customer validation tends to be one of the weakest parts of any Scottish Edge application I have seen, and I've read a lot of applications. It's not just about we've spoken to some people. Try and quantify. If you've spoken to 100 people, tell us you've spoken to 100 people. How did you gather that information? Was it a random Facebook questionnaire, or was it real customer insight questions? Did you speak to them, ask them open questions? Did you gather information about what is their real pain points? Or did you just lead a customer section down the path of agreeing your solution is great? So I have seen applications where it's literally said, friends and family think this is great. Don't use friends and family for customer validation, because they'll always tell you it's great. They won't be honest with you, and they won't tell you, no. Get some independent advice. Make sure you've got quality customer validation, because with how competitive this competition is, the judges will immediately focus on customer validation. So you've identified a problem, great. You've identified a solution, brilliant. But who's it for? Who have you spoken to? And why is it an issue for them? Next section is looking at your competition. So who else is in this space? And demonstrate your awareness of the market you operate in. So you know the competition, but you can clearly identify your point of difference. And if you have any plans for IP or intellectual property, what do you own at the moment? What do you hope to have in the future that will make you stand out from the competition? Next section is team. Crucial, again, without being too wordy. Who are the key players in the team? What experience do they bring? Why are they involved in a business? And being really honest about what strengths you've got and what strengths you're missing in the team. And crucially, who's driving the commercial plan? Any business plan or any business application of any kind has to have a commercial plan. That's your sales figures, that's your job numbers, that's what you're aiming for. Someone in a team has to lead that commercial plan, has to have that commercial expertise of some kind. So make sure you communicate who that person is, what experience they've got, and why they're good for the job. Next key section is traction. So what have you achieved? Have you had any sales? Great. Do you have any trials in place? Are you speaking to key customers? Are you really far developed in a product? What traction have you actually achieved up until this point? Next section is about impact. What good is your business delivering or aim to deliver for people or the planet? This is something that's in our lives every single day now. And more, I do a lot of research around businesses and competitions and pitching to investors, even having a conversation with a potential big corporate client. They want to know what you're doing in terms of impact, social impact, environmental impact, recycling, whatever that is. They want to know what you're thinking about. Now, it's very difficult for someone asking for £10,000 to develop a widget of some kind to predict impact for the future. But it's something you need to be aware that you're thinking of. We don't expect a young edge application for £10,000 to predict that they're going to change the world. That's just not viable. It's not possible. But the judges want to see that you've thought about what you're going to do and how that could potentially impact either society, the world, the environment. What does that look like? So get that across. And crucially, they ask at the end, so what will you use edge funding for, and why will this accelerate? How will this accelerate your growth, and why is it crucial at this time that you need X amount of pounds to get to what inflection point? So making sure you've got a clear ask. So going back to the hook, as I said, I recommend you write all the sections first, you draft them out. That gives you your kind of summary of the business plan in roughly 3 minutes. And then once you've done all that, think about, right, how can I open this up? How can I start my talk to an audience with something that's really going to get the attention? So that's why I always say, you will start with your hook, but you're going to write that section last. Once you're happy with all the other sections, write that last. Now, as I said, no more than 450 words for 3 minutes, because research has shown that when you speak at a pace that's audible, clear, and digestible, which is roughly the pace I'm talking at right now, I'm using about 150 words per minute. which is about 450 words for 3 minutes. So you don't want to race through your pitch. It's almost like you're sat having a chat in a pub or a cafe. You're telling someone, this is what I do in 3 minutes. Nice and clear, nice and concise, nice and calm, nice and passionate. So that slide helps you think about, if you've never written a pitch, that's some guidelines on how to structure what you want to get in there, why it's really important to supplement your application, and always keep in mind, you're not just relating verbatim what's in your application into a video. You want it to supplement your video. You want it to bring, you want your video to supplement your application. You want that video to bring that application to life in a more condensed version and do it very, very visual. So I'm going to give you a few kind of key headings. Stephen, would you mind moving on the slide? Thank you. So on the website, there is lots of information around the pitch video. We've got examples on there of what good looks like. We can show you how to upload it, how to make it unlisted and make it private. So all that's there for you. It's all on the website, and there's some good examples there. And most of the examples, if not all, on the website use that structure we just talked about, or some kind of form of it. Now, you don't have to use that structure, but in my experience of listening to hundreds of pitches, I like to hear a story in a logical, clear format where I know I can identify, okay, the hook has got me interested. The problem of it and the solution, I understand, it's nice and clear. Who you've spoken to, the validation, all these things I can hear coming through, and I can almost, in my mind, tick off the key sections that anybody who's being pitched to in a business sense wants to hear. That's why we've designed it that way. So we'd recommend you use it that way. The judges are used to hearing a pitch in this format with those headings and in that flow, but it's entirely up to yourself. This is your pitch video. You can pitch it any way you like, but this is a proven, tried and tested way of communicating your business idea in 3 minutes. A couple of top things from me, given all the hundreds of videos I've seen. The judges are not looking for Spielberg productions. They're not looking for, blow you away 3-minute video with guns going off and fireworks and everything else. It's not about that. It's about getting to know the person, getting to know the team, looking in the whites of their eyes, feeling their passion for this, having a visual of a product or a service, if you can do that in the video, because that always helps bring things to life. And don't spend weeks and weeks and weeks putting together a fancy video, because information gets taken in visually much, much faster than it does on written words. So the judges will read your application, they will watch your video, and they'll probably do it side by side, if not one after the other. So it's just about bringing that application form to life in a visual element. So nice, clear, nice and concise. Couple of top tips from me. Be careful about background noise. When you're doing your video, if you're doing it outside, think about the background noise. Make sure you listen back to it. Make sure it's nice and clear for the judges so they can hear every single word and they can follow the routine or the process you're going through in this video. Definitely, definitely don't leave your video to the last minute. It can be so easy to get caught up in the application process that you leave your video to the last minute. Make sure you plan time for the video. It's a fundamental part of bringing your business plan to life, and it's a really crucial part for the judges to use to add that extra colour to the black and white application form, if you like. So don't leave it to the last minute. And I'll give an example of what I mean by don't leave it to the last minute. I once watched an application video for Scottish Edge where the person was walking down a street with their phone held up to their face, clearly on the way to somewhere, and the wind was howling in the background. And you couldn't actually hear a word they were saying. So that added no benefit to the application, did not help the applicant in any way, shape or form. And as a result, not just that, they didn't even get through the first stage. So think about the video, think about the quality, make sure you plan it out, you've tested it. Not Spielberg productions, but make sure it's clear, audible and concise, that the judges can see the value in it. 3 key things to remember when you're pitching. Your content, as we've kind of talked about, what you're going to put in there and why. The structure, which we've talked about, which is that kind of measured way of going through the hook, the problem, the solution, the market, the team and the ask. And finally, delivery. It's not just about reading from a sheet of paper. The judges want to connect with the person in the video. They want to hear the passion. They want to see, you know, the body getting involved in this whole application process and how much it means to them. So make sure you think about your delivery, where you stand, if you want to stand, where you sit. You know, if you're reading notes for a pitch and the notes are up here, and the judges can't engage with you, that's not going to add any real value. They want to see you, they want to get to know you, albeit in a kind of 3-minute video visual element, and they want to feel why this is really important. Think about the passion you're going to deliver, demonstrate your knowledge, and be very clear about the traction. Okay, that's all the kind of top tips I'm giving you at the moment around how to structure your pitch, how to deliver your video. At the end, if there's any questions, I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat, but at the end, if there's any further questions around pitch, video, structure or content, I'm more than happy to pick those up at the end. Stephen, is there anything you think, key things that I've missed from the pitch application or the structure or the video?
No, I think that's brilliant, Kev. I think you covered some really good stuff. You had some really good top tips. We've got a couple of wee things we'll cover off just at the end to close off in terms of some of the things around the video. But I think in terms of the structure and putting it together and the bits that really matter in terms of the video, I think you've covered them off in really good detail, which is great. So thank you for that, Kev. I'll just move on now to the assessment criteria, and then we'll close off with some top tips. So looking at the next stage beyond your application and video. So once you've submitted them, you've completed your application, you've done your 3-minute video, you've done it through the portal, you've clicked submit. At that stage, there's really nothing else that you can now do in terms of your application. It then gets put to one of our assessment panels, and then we'll have a core group of assessors will review your application, they'll discuss it, they'll come together, they'll then decide on the sort of assessment level you'll get against their assessment criteria areas and determine whether that will progress you to the next stage or not. Normally on our assessment days, we've got assessment panels made up of sort of 4 or 5 people. And those 4 or 5 people come from across the sort of whole business network across Scotland. So we've got people from Royal Bank of Scotland, various different business support agencies, we've got professional partners, we've got some past Edge winners, investors, just various teams that we go to. We've now got our sort of all of our assessors now confirmed for the assessment panel days. So they're all in place and ready, just waiting for applications to start coming their way after 10th of August. So we'll get them done. We sort of look at diversity when we're looking at, so we've got, normally have 50-50 male-female split in terms of our assessment panels. We look at ethnic, so we've got a sort of good representation of ethnic minority people on the places in the assessment panels as well. And in terms of confidentiality, which is normally a question that always comes up, all of our judges sign confidentiality agreements either through ourselves at Scottish Edge or through the partner organisation they work with, which covers them for their participation in Edge. And what that means is any information that's shared with them or they see on the video or they discuss on the assessment days or comments that are taken on the day, everything's dealt with in a sort of confidential way. So we know that a lot of applicants that come into Edge will have business sensitive information or things that they feel as though they can't share in a sort of public forum. But what we say is that if we can, without putting yourself in any difficult situation around IP or customer, if you can try and share as much as you can with the assessment panel, and we will make sure that's dealt with in the correct way. And the reason we say that is we don't want you to miss out on a place in the next stage when it's a really tough competition because you've just not been able to share some key information that could have been the tipping point to allow you to progress. So if there's anything you're not sure about around confidentiality, please get in touch with myself and we can chat that through. But in delivering 17 rounds previously of Scottish Edge, we've not had one breach of confidentiality or any issue arise around IP or data integrity. So we do have quite a robust process in terms of the whole competition delivery, in terms of managing confidentiality. So hopefully that will give a bit of confidence around being able to give us as much information as possible. And we manage that confidentiality process differently as we go through the competition, through the different stages and the sort of methods we use for presenting to panels. Our first stage assessments are normally done on sector. So if you're a food and drink business or a science tech business, a technology business, a creative business or a social enterprise, we tend to sort of gather those types of businesses together, and we then have a panel who have got some expertise in that sector. They might have someone who's an expert on your particular field, but we will have some people with knowledge of the food and drink sector or the science sector or who deal day in, day out with social enterprises or work in life sciences. So we've got some experts on our panels to be able to give us the comfort that the people who are looking at our applications will have some background knowledge that they can use and bring to that panel. So it is done that way. The judges all come together on the assessment day. They'll get your information beforehand to do some preview work. They will then come together on a specific date, which is between the 24th of August and 17th of September. That's when the days are taking place. They'll come together, look at the applications for that assessment day, and they will then judge each of the businesses. The assessors that we bring on board, they are human beings. And they're not there to catch businesses out or make it difficult. We've got a prize pot in round 18 of about £1.5 million. And the way we'll position that to the judges is we want to give this money out. So we want you to use your expertise and your experience in this sector to help us find really good businesses to take forward to the next stage. We don't say to the judges, we want you to use your expertise to find all the things wrong with these business plans. That's not what we do. It's about using their knowledge and expertise to see, right, what ones are really exciting, what ones are demonstrating a really good plan for going forward, and where the ones that are not demonstrating that, what's some feedback we can give them, and we'll give you an idea of the feedback. We'll give feedback to all of you. It's about constructive and helpful, and the feedback is designed to be what this panel of people looking at your application for the very first time, that's what their view is when reading your application and looking at your video. So the 6 areas that the assessors measure each business against are shown on the screen there. So it's value proposition, entrepreneurial spirit, impact, business growth, customer focus, and utilization of funding. And these are areas that we've already gone through because they're the same areas that you're questioned on in your application. So what you're asked links in with what the judges are asked to measure you on. So there's nothing hidden in there. There's nothing that's not visual for you. So you know what you'll be asked on, you know what you'll be assessed on, and it's the same areas. So this is, again, a shortened version of what we give to the judges. This is the types of questions when they come together for the judging day. The Scottish Edge team are there to manage the process, and we don't judge in any way. We don't assess or give scores or anything like that. We're not there to do that. We're just there to manage the process. And these are the types of things that we will ask the judging panel to make sure that they're thinking about the right areas. So is the product or service clearly articulated? So that's probably the first question we will ask the judging panel to think about when we're starting to look at your business's assessment. We'll look at value proposition. Basically, do you understand what this business is, and is it clear that it's clearly articulated what they're doing? Is there a good awareness of the competition? Do you know what's their point of difference? Is it clear? So that's the types of questions that when we're going through with the judges, when we've got them on a sort of Zoom room or a Teams meeting, what we've got them on, we'll be saying, right, we'll look at business number 1 on the day, and that's the first types of questions we'll ask them. In terms of the people behind the business, do they have the right skills and experience to drive this business forward? Have they got commercial experience in the team or the wider support network? So it's questions like that we'll put to the panel, and that's the types of things that we'll expect them to be picking out of the applications and discussing. And again, around the impact, have you demonstrated clearly what the intentions or what you're currently doing around social, environmental impact? Is there circular focus there? So it's just about all those areas. Again, business growth potential. We'll say, is there a realistic plan there for growing the business over the next 12 months and beyond that into the next 3 years? Have they demonstrated how they're going to deliver this? So have they told you about what sales have made to date, or what plans they've got, or when they're going to make sales? And again, if it's a business that's going to be trading further down the line, we'll be talking about, right, have they demonstrated how they'll cover those next 2 to 3 years whilst they're doing the development work, when the sales are going to start? Then we talk about customer focus. It's about, has the business demonstrated that they've engaged with their target audience? So that's the types of questions that we will put to them. So there's a really clear alignment here between what you're asked in your application, what you can get across in your video, and again, what we'll be asking of the judges to sort of score you on. And again, same thing with utilisation of funding. Does the proposed spend relate to key areas to drive the business forward? Does it feel the right stuff for this current stage of the business journey? So that's the types of things that we'll be putting to the judges, and then they'll decide based on that what businesses will progress. So I'll just jump back to this screen. So obviously there's a scoring mechanism we use. So each business is scored out of 5 for the 6 areas that we measure the businesses on. So you'll get a score for value proposition, entrepreneurial spirit, impact, etc., and that scores out of 5. With a 5 being excellent, 4 being very good, 3 being good, 2 being you've given us some information, and 1's normally when there's just a lack of detail and we've not really got the information we need. So normally, if you look at Scottish Edge to go through to the next stage, you're looking at normally getting a score of around about 4s in each area. That's probably about the level that you're looking at. Maybe a 3 in one of the areas, so a total score about 22, 23, 24 is normally what is needed to go through to the next stage. So a couple of top tips from me just to close off. Obviously, from seeing 4,000 Scottish Edge applications over the past number of years, there's a few things just to bear in mind when you're doing your application and looking to submit it. So first thing first, in terms of top tips, is use the support that's out there. There's lots of it. There's lots of people out there who know about Scottish Edge, who have been Scottish Edge judges in the past, who have applied for Scottish Edge in the past. Please use their experience. Talk to people in business support agencies, Business Gateway, Scottish Enterprise. All these different organisations are there to help. They want you to succeed in Scottish Edge. So use those people. We've also got a support page, which we've got on the screen there. There's some stuff on there. There is a sample application form. So we've taken some answers from businesses across previous rounds and put some answers in an application form. Just a Word document. It makes no sense as an overall business, but it gives you the level of detail and the level of depth of information that some businesses have gone into. There's no answers in the impact section, and the reason for that is the impact section was only introduced in the last round. And for this round, we've taken some learnings from that and we've changed the questions around a bit. So there's not specific answers that tie in with what was asked in the last round compared to this round. So, but every other section, you've got some detail in there around what's needed. Another thing that it actually goes down quite well with people, there's a blank application form. So there's a Word document application form that you can download. And a lot of people use that just to work away on their application before they actually start on the online portal. So they'll go in and they'll put all their answers in the downloaded application form. And then when it comes to a few days before the deadline, they'll start to transfer it over and just sort of copy and paste your answers over. So that's all there. So please download one of those forms, play about with it. It's an easy way to share your application with other people to check it over as well, which is a really good thing to do. The other thing there is the actual full detail of the assessment criteria is in the sort of support page as well. So you can click on the various different headings. It'll show you all the information we share with the judges. And there's quite a lot of subsections within that, sub sort of questions or areas within each section. Don't feel as though you need to satisfy every one of them. A lot of them cover different types of businesses or different sectors or things like that. So it's about just being able to say, right, have we, as a rounded proposition, given a really good account of ourselves around entrepreneurial spirit? Have we covered in great depth our impact around the different areas? So please use that information as well. That's there. There's also lots of 3-minute video pitches on our website as well on that page. So further down, if you scroll down, there's some 3-minute videos just from past winners. You can go in and get a sense of different styles and different ways that work. So as Kevin said, like what we've given you today is a structure, an idea of a structure, but that's just to help you put something together. It's not the sort of tried and tested, you must do this. There is different styles. If you've got a different style, you want to do it in a different way, as long as you get that passion across, that demonstration of your business offering or service, and just a sense of what this business journey is going to look like, and it complements your application form, that's fine, as long as you get the key information across. So please have a look at some of those videos. And then just some tips from me around the application process. Again, some of this has been covered. I'm not covering in a lot of detail, but we'll run through some of it. First thing is make it easy for the judges to know what your business is. Again, as I said, one of the outset parts of it is the worst thing you can do in an application is once the judges read your application, watch your video, the first thing they say is, I still don't get it. And that just puts them on a negative footing around it, and they're going to then find it hard to go how the business will grow, how customers will understand it. So make sure the panel of judges can understand your business. Know the assessment criteria. So we've covered it in detail today. It's on our website. Know what you're going to be measured on and make sure your answers are aligned to what you're going to be measured on. Outline your point of difference and know your market. So again, it's just demonstrate that understanding and that knowledge that you know about the market you're looking to enter and how you're going to try and stand out and appeal to customers through having something different. Be realistic with your financial forecasting. Our judges and ourselves at the Edge team, we're not going to be impressed by you just putting huge forecasted figures in there. It's probably going to have the opposite effect. You're going to look at it and go, that's a bit ambitious. I don't think that's achievable. Just be realistic. Make sure you're looking at growth and continued growth. That's what really stands out. We can see steady, incremental, continued growth year on year or month on month, or you can sort of compare a 6-month period to the next 6 months as to here's how we're going to grow, and then show that. Just make sure it's realistic. Talk about your customer engagement, who you're actually speaking to, not Google information. Tell us about the spend. Look at your impact. That's really, really important. Don't leave the assessors with lots of unanswered questions. And again, that's going back to the example I gave earlier about, we're talking to Tesco or John Lewis. If you just leave it at that, then there's lots of unanswered questions around that, because we want to know, right, when's it happening, who are you speaking to, what stage. We want to know all of that, because that really gives us a depth of detail. And I think Kevin touched on it about the video. Double check your form before you submit it. It's not an exam, it's not a spelling test, it's not, you'll not fall down for grammar errors or spelling errors. But if your application is littered with them and it looks as though it's been a rush, and one of the things we often see is questions 1, 2, and 3 are really in-depth detail, really well answered, but for some reason or other, the business has left it to the last minute to do the rest of the form, and you can see very, very short answers, and that's not going to work in a Scottish Edge competition, because you'll maybe assess well for the first 2 or 3 areas, but the rest of it, you'll probably get 1s because it's just a lack of detail. So, and that means you'll never progress in the competition. So make sure you give yourself the time to submit the full application and cover it in the detail. And this is your representation of your business. You want to make sure you're happy with that before you send it into a panel of business experts to look at it. And then a couple of top tips on the video. Again, Kevin will have touched on most of these, but I'll just run through it. Panel want to see someone passionate, believable entrepreneur. They want to sort of really buy into you as a person when you see that. Showcase your product or service. Please use a video. If you've got a product or service if you've got a technology offering, an app or a platform, please use a video to do a customer demo, because the panel will look at it from the perspective of a customer. What would they get out of it? If it's a survey thing or a mental health sort of platform and you're going to be asking some questions, let's see a couple of screens to see what you're asking, what's the output like, what's the results like. So use the video to do that. As you said, the application form will give us a lot of the detail around your business plans and growth journeys. If you've got a product and you can show it, or an offering, you can show it on the video, please use the time to do that. It will be time well spent. Involve your team or even customers. If you want to build up your customer validation piece, you can get a sort of customer on your video talking about why they use your product or why they're interested. Again, it just adds more sort of scope to that customer sort of buy-in. Kevin touched on it. We don't need Hollywood quality. This isn't a pitching competition or a video making competition. This is a business competition. So it's not about how good you are at making videos. We would never ask any business or encourage any business to spend money on a video. Most of the videos you'll see in our examples are just done on a phone. I think that's where most Scottish Edge application videos are done. Just use your phone and just capture a video and use what you can. So please don't spend money on a video, because having a good video will not win you Scottish Edge. Having a good business, which is demonstrated on the video, will give you a good chance of going through. Again, be natural, engaging. Kevin touched on that. It's not a test. You can use some notes, but please do it in a way that still gets your passion across and gets your knowledge of the business. A judging panel will look at your video and look at you as an entrepreneurial leader, as the person that knows your business better than anyone. So there'll be a bit of an expectation there that you'll be able to talk about this passionately and enthusiastically and with knowledge around the plans for your business going forward. So please use that time to get that across. Don't need to repeat the application word in your video we've talked about. When you're doing your video, this is more around the technical side of things. When you've done your video, we want you to upload it into a video platform. Most people use YouTube, and there is other ones, Vimeo and different ones like that, but so that you can insert the link into the online application portal where the space is for it. Please, first things first, give yourself plenty of time for the uploading part of it and for it to sort of go through that process. So don't leave it to the last minute and try and phone me at 5 minutes to 2 to see my video still going through the uploading process. Please give yourself plenty of time to do that. The other thing around confidentiality is, if you're using YouTube, please use the unlisted security option on there. And what the unlisted option gives you is it's not visual on any search facility. So you can't search for it, it doesn't come up. So the only people who will see your video is the ones that you share the link with. And if you share the link on your application form, the only people that will see it is myself. And when we'll check it through, in the 4 or 5 judges from your assessment day who have all signed confidentiality agreements. It won't be shared anywhere else. So please use that. Do not use the private setting on it, because then what you need to give is your passwords and email addresses to go into your account, and we don't want to, that's not something we want to sort of do. And then we need to give all that information to more people, and so please use the unlisted. I think on Vimeo, you can put a password protector on it. And so if you want to do that, that's fine to sort of make it secure and then put your password on the application. But please make sure you get that video to us in a sort of secure way that we can see it. And again, as Kevin mentioned, watch your video back. Make sure, again, this is your representation. Make sure you're happy for this to be watched and you to be assessed on this. So please do that. Just to finish off, in terms of your application, once you go through the first stage assessments, you will get feedback. No matter whether you progress or not, you'll get some feedback from our panel of experts. And that feedback's designed to tell you what went well in your EDGE application, what areas you need to maybe enhance to stand out more. It's also designed to help you on your business journey and give you some things to think about. This is a panel of people who don't know your business, but they've seen it for the first time and this is what they've thought of it. So that might be a representation of what other customers or might see it in the future. So please make sure you use that information to help you enhance your business story. It will also help you if you do then decide to come back to Scottish Edge, because that's the sort of process that we like to see businesses go through. It's a learning journey go through Edge. As we outlined at the start, not every business can win. So it's about just learning and using that information from the feedback and hopefully coming back in a future round to give yourself an even better chance of success. Some stats to surround our winners: over 50% of our Scottish Edge category winners have won on a second, third or fourth application attempt. So that's been a business that's applied in a previous round, they've got feedback, they've not won, they've maybe got to a semi-final, didn't progress in the first stage, they've got the feedback, they've enhanced their application, might not have won again the next time and then come back again and eventually have had some success. So it's about that perseverance and persistence and demonstrating that you can continue to grow your business. But on the flip side of that, we have a number of our Edge winners, just short of 50% it is, that win on a first attempt. So they come into Scottish Edge first time round, do a really good application, do a great video, press all the way through, cover off the assessment areas really well, and then they can be success as well. So it's not about you have to apply lots of times to be able to win. You can win on a first attempt. And there's a couple of sort of comments on there just around the follow-on support that Kevin and the rest of the team will give you. It's about that follow-on support and the feedback and all these things that would really help businesses grow beyond just the competition support and being part of it. So that covers off the key information about first stage assessment and application and video and just for round 18. Our challenge to you now is to be one of our winners at the end. We used to have a winner's photo with all the trophies. Obviously in the last year and a bit, we've not been able to do that due to restrictions, but hopefully in the future, whether it's this round or the next round, we'll hopefully be able to get a lot of our winners together and have a bit of a celebratory moment where we can sort of showcase our winners and say well done for all the hard work you've done in round 18. So I know there's been lots of questions coming in through the chat. I'm going to see if Jack's got any just before in the last sort of 5 minutes or so before we sort of close off, if any sort of key themes have come across that we want to sort of just cover off before we close it off. Jack, have you got anything that you want to cover?
Yep, hi Stephen. Yeah, so plenty of questions come in, so it was good to see everyone quite engaged. So just a few here just to run through that I thought would be best to kind of take to you for a kind of wider discussion, because more people might be interested in them. So the first was just around the kind of partnership thing. I know there's always a little bit of confusion around sole traders and partnerships. And so one of the questions was, would we be eligible for the main Edge as a registered partnership?
So registered partnership, I'm assuming that's just a legally binding partnership that's in there. So to be eligible for Scottish Edge, we need a registered company number from Companies House. And the reason behind that is to do with our sort of lending, because as part of a loan within the Scottish Edge Awards through the Consumer Credit Act and Financial Services Authority, what authority we've got as a lender is only to sort of limited companies, social enterprises, etc. So you need to have something registered at Companies House. I've not got an understanding. I don't think you can register a partnership at Companies House. If I'm wrong there, please apologise and we can pick that up offline. But if you've got a company registration number from Companies House and it's registered, then that's fine. We're happy to accept that. But as far as I know, partnerships, you can't do that, so they wouldn't be, unless it's a limited liability partnership, then we can look at that separately. That's something we can do.
Perfect, thank you. And the other one, I think I might have got this one wrong in the chat actually. It says, can we apply for a young age if only one of us is under 30? So I'm assuming it depends on who they are in the business.
Yeah, so exactly, Jack, that's exactly what it is. If we're interested in the sort of key directors or key sort of principles in this business, if it's the sort of key people driving the business forward, then they all must be under 30. If it's employees or advisors or even non-exec directors, if they are over 30, that's fine. But if it's the key people in the business driving the business forward, they must all be under 30 to be eligible.
Perfect, thank you. And another one that came in was, should we include the applied for amount in our forecasts or projections, or should you do that, pretend that you haven't got the money, and what would it be without edge funding?
Yeah, we get this quite a lot, and there's no right or wrong answer with it. What we tend to say to people is don't include the amount, the edge award, in the sales turnover figure. So in your forecast plans, don't include the actual money that you would win from edge. But you can base your figures on winning that amount, if that makes sense. So you can build your projections and your ambitions on the basis of that you're going to be an edge winner. But if you're doing that, just put a line in the how part of it, which is below the assumptions box, to say we've based these figures on winning Scottish Edge. Or if you're not, if this is just your general forecast figures and it would be more than this if you won Edge, again, just state it on the form so that the panel are left with no uncertainty. They know these figures are based on winning Edge. So because it says it in the next line just below, all these figures are based on what we're doing just now. And if we win Edge, we would be doubling these figures. So it's about no right or wrong answer, but it's about just making it clear to the GP in the how assumptions box that comes below where you do your forecasts.
Perfect. Cheers. So I think there was one last one that came in there, but I think Kev's keen to cover this one. So Kev, if you're there, you want to?
Yeah, there was a couple of questions that came up around loans, which is good that people are picking up on this. So if you're applying to the Scottish Edge main category, one key thing you have to bear in mind, so there's anything in the Scottish Edge main category, what tends to be anything £35,000 and upwards, or £25,000 and upwards, that's only going to be awarded through the main Edge category. That is a loan grant split, and it's a 70% loan and a 30% grant split. Now, I'll give you some indicative numbers here. There's been a couple of questions around loan terms and repayments. So, for example, if you applied for and won £100,000 from Edge, your money is released in two tranches. So you'd get 50,000 in the first tranche and 50,000 on the second tranche. Each of these tranches has a loan. So 28 days after your first tranche of cash, you will start to repay a loan element for the first tranche. And then after your second tranche, again, you will start to repay the second loan in the second tranche. So if you're a business that is successful in securing a main Edge award, you will have at some point two loans with Scottish Edge that the business will repay. To give you some indicative numbers to bring it into context, with a rough APR of about 7.7% APR on these loans, if you were to secure £50,000 in total, your total for your two loans repayment every month would be around £730 per month. If you were to secure £100,000, when you draw down both tranches and you have both loans, you could be paying back something around £1,400 per month. So it's really important to bear that in mind when you're thinking about which category to apply for. If you're going for main Edge, there is a loan element. Can you afford to repay that loan element? So bear that in mind when it comes to applying and your financials. And just to pick up on something that Jennifer Crichton had mentioned, Jennifer had asked, is it acceptable for the funding to be used exclusively or almost exclusively for staffing? Yes, that is fine, as long as it's new staff, it's not existing staff and it's not existing directors. And Krishnan has just asked loan terms. The loans are over a maximum of 5 years. However, they can be paid off earlier. You can clear them interest-free in 2 years. If you have a good, successful 2 years, you can take advantage of an interest-free option and clear them within 24 months. Francisco, no, the money cannot be spent. Well, Francisco has asked, can the money be spent abroad?
The whole purpose of Scottish Edge is to drive Scottish businesses. We would probably need to look at that in a bit more detail in terms of the specifics around it. We've had some examples before where they're looking for example, developers in a different country. They can't get the expertise in Scotland. And if that's the right thing for the business at that time, we could look at that. So there is some areas where obviously the core focus is on driving a Scottish business and doing what's right to support Scotland's economy. But if that right thing is to spend some money overseas because it's going to have longer term benefits for Scotland, then we would potentially look at that, but it would need probably a bit more of a discussion around, and it would be something that I would imagine as the competition progressed, if the business got to semi-final stage or Scottish Edge final, there would be a question on it from the judges, and depending on how that was answered, then the judges would make a call on it that way, I would imagine. But there's not a preference for it, but we're not totally against it if as long as it's for the right reason.
And just to follow up again, Jennifer come back with, can staffing also be freelance? Yes, you can pay contractors to help grow your business, but ideally over the 3-year period, we want to see some permanent job growth as well. Christian has come back, if there is overseas manufacturing involved, then what happens? Can we use the funds for that? Yes. We've got lots of winners who use overseas manufacturing, and that's absolutely fine. And I think that's all the latest questions that's come in.
Yeah, I think just on those ones, Kate, just to Jane, it's about doing what's right for the business at the stage you're at. And if you can justify that manufacturing's best done for us at this stage in China or overseas, wherever that may be, then nobody's going to question that if it's the right thing for your business at this stage. And it's also put into context, right? Because that then has benefits for you as a business that's going to grow a business in Scotland. You'll then eventually grow your team in Scotland. So it's about just balancing it between what's going to happen to support Scotland's growth and also saying, but we're also doing it in a way that's the right thing for our business. So it's just making sure you think about it that way. That's the key thing. But in terms of, is that the key questions answered? So just to finish off, just to say a massive thank you for joining us today. I hope there's been some things in there to help you and give you some things to think about when you're doing your applications over the coming weeks. If you've not started your application yet, I would encourage you to have a look as soon as possible. As you've seen from today, there's lots to be thinking about and lots to do. So please take the time to go through it and make sure you justify your business within you when you submit your application and you're happy with what you're putting across as a representation of your business. We at Scottish Edge, we've got a budget this round of about £1.5 million, and we want to give it out. We want to find good businesses and just do your best to stand out in this competition. And good luck. And we're here to help. If there's anything that you want to check, any questions you've got, anything you just want to run past myself or the rest of the team, please just get in touch and we'll do our best to support you. Look forward to seeing all the applications coming in by 2 o'clock on the 10th of August. Thanks for giving up your morning this morning and such a nice day in Scotland, and enjoy the rest of your day and good luck. Thanks everyone. Thank you.